Our World by 2050. In this last learning activity of English.Works 5, you will learn about improbable, impossible, or hypothetical situations by using the second conditional. In addition, you will learn some language related to animals and their natural habitats. In relation to animals, you will also discover how to talk about extinction and endangered species. At the end of the unit, you will also review the conditionals you have learned so far. Introductory material. Dear learner, this material will help you study the topics related to Learning Activity 4. You will learn about 1. Second conditional. If plus past simple plus would plus infinitive. 2. Animals, extinction and endangered species. 3. Making decisions. 0, first and second conditional review. Let's begin. 1. Second conditional. If plus past simple plus would plus infinitive. Nicole is participating as a subject in a research about human behavior. Read the following interview with the researcher that is conducting the test.
Hi, Nicole. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for the invitation.
Nicole, today I want to ask you some personal questions.
Okay, let's start.
Nicole, if you could live in another time period, what time period would you choose and why?
I would choose either the 1930s for the elegance of the outfits or the 1970s for the hippie clothes and the awesome music.
Now, if you could come back in another life, who or what would you like to be?
I would like to be a bird so I could watch people.
Nicole, if you could change one part of your body, what would it be?
If I could change one part of my body, I wouldn't change anything. I love my entire body.
What about this one, Nicole? What would you wear if you were invited on a date by someone you really liked?
Well, I'd choose some super comfortable clothes. Definitely a black dress.
This is the last question. What would you eat for your last meal, and who, dead or alive, would you share it with?
Oh my God, that's a difficult question. If I had my last meal, I would have an Italian dish with my family. That would be a perfect night for me.
Thank you so much for your time, Nicole.
You're welcome.
Note, we use the second conditional to talk about a hypothetical or imaginary situation in the present or future and its consequence. If you could come back in another life, who or what would you like to be? I wouldn't change anything. What would you wear if you were invited on a date by someone you really like? To make the second conditional, we use if plus past simple, would or wouldn't, plus infinitive. If I had my last meal, I would have an Italian dish with my family. If I could change one part of my body, I wouldn't change anything. Compare the following sentences. 1. She doesn't have much money, so she can't buy an apartment. 2. If she had the money, she would buy an apartment. Sentence 1. She doesn't have much money, so she can't buy an apartment. It is a real situation. She can't afford it. While the sentence 2, if she had the money, she would buy an apartment. It is a hypothetical or imaginary situation. She doesn't have the money, but she would like to buy it if she had the money. Note, the second conditional can also be made in the following way: would or wouldn't plus infinitive plus if plus past simple. He would pass the course if he studied more. They would travel abroad if they spoke English. Remember that the second conditional starts with would or wouldn't plus infinitive plus if plus past simple. We don't use the comma, but when it starts with if plus past simple, would or wouldn't plus infinitive, we use the comma between the clauses. I would go to the center if I had the time. No comma. If she didn't need the money, she wouldn't work on Sundays, comma. Note, remember that in addition to would, you can also use the modal could for the second conditional. If I won the lottery, I could buy a new car. He could visit his grandpa if he had the time. With he, she, it, or I, you can use were instead of was when using the verb to be. For example, if she was or were you, she would choose the gray dress. Use were, not was, for giving advice. The most common expression in this case is, if I were you. For example, if I were you, I would walk. 2. Animals. Extinction and endangered species. Look at the following list of animals. The animals are grouped into their natural habitats. Forest animals. Beaver, bird, boar, chameleon, chipmunk, deer, dove, eagle, falcon, geese, snake, hawk, hummingbird, mouse, owl, raccoon, skunk, squirrel, armadillo, bat, bear, weasel, moose. Jungle animals. Ape, baboon, cobra, chimpanzee, gorilla, panda, sloth, parrot, tiger. Savanna animals. Buffalo, cheetah, elephant, giraffe, hyena, kangaroo, ostrich, rhino, zebra, antelope. Swamp animals. flamingo, frog, hippo, crocodile, duck. Desert and Arctic animals. Camel, coyote, penguin, killer whale, seal, wolf, polar bear. Endangered species.
Hi, Richard.
Hi, Nicole. How are you?
Good, but I'm worried.
Why? What happened?
Today, I had a science class and we study endangered species.
Endangered? What's that?
Endangered species are kinds of animals or plants in danger of extinction or in danger of dying out in all or most of the geographical range where they live.
I didn't know that. That's terrible.
It is. Guess what the top 5 endangered species are?
I have no idea.
I learned it today. Have you ever heard of the Javan rhino?
Never.
Well, number 1 on the list is the Javan rhino. It is one of the most endangered species with an estimated 40-60 animals remaining.
Only 40? That's awful.
Second is the Maui dolphin. They live off the coast of New Zealand. There are just 55 animals alive today.
Each one is worse than the last.
Have you ever heard of the Amur leopard?
I don't know any of the animals you have mentioned. That one either.
Okay, get this. It's a rare leopard that only lives in a snowy northern forest. In 2007, it was reported that there were only 14 to 40 adults and 5 to 6 cubs.
Get out of here. I can't believe it.
There is one that is worse. Researchers have reported that there may be fewer than 20 northern sportive lemurs in the entire world.
Less than 20? Lemurs are those little furry ones like in the movie Madagascar, right? That is so sad. What's going on?
Top on the list is the most critically endangered species of all. Do you have any idea what it is?
Not at all. Which one is it?
It is the ivory-billed woodpecker. It was considered extinct until 2004. The biologists who study birds found 2 of them. Nevertheless, there isn't a definite proof of their existence.
Oh my God. That is tragic news. What can we do to help?
Now, let's have a look at a few species that are facing threat. Check the complete list of endangered animals in the glossary. Black rhino, Diceros bicornis, critically endangered. Mountain gorilla, Gorilla baringae, critically endangered. Sumatran tiger, Panthera tigris sumatrae, critically endangered. Blue whale, Balaenoptera musculus, endangered. African elephant, Loxodonta africana, vulnerable.
Great white shark, Caudaquon Caracas, vulnerable.
Galapagos penguin, Sphinxius minduculus, endangered. 3. Making decisions. 0, first, and second conditional review. A. Zero conditional. Note, we use zero conditional when we know that the result of the condition is always true. It is a fact. If he is late for work, his boss gets angry. People die if they don't eat. To form the zero conditional, we use if plus present simple, present simple. Babies cry if they are hungry. If you heat ice, it melts. Remember that when the second conditional starts with present simple plus if plus present simple, we don't use the comma. But when it starts with if plus present simple, we use the comma between the clauses. You get green if you mix blue and yellow. No comma. If it rains, he gets wet. Comma. B. First conditional. Note, we use first conditional to talk about a possible future situation and its consequence. They will stay at home if it snows today. If they don't study, they will fail the exam. To make the first conditional, we use if plus present simple, will plus present simple. If she calls me, I will tell her the good news. We will invite Sarah if we see her tomorrow. Remember that when the second conditional starts with present simple plus if plus present simple, we don't use the comma between clauses. But when it starts with if plus present simple, will plus present simple, we use the comma between the clauses. She will wear a cardigan if it is cold. No comma. If you don't do your homework, you won't watch TV. Comma. C. Second conditional. Note, we use the second conditional to talk about a hypothetical or imaginary situation in the present or future and its consequence. If you could come back in another life, who or what would you like to be? I wouldn't change anything. What would you wear if you were invited on a date by someone you really liked? To make the second conditional, we use if plus past simple, would or wouldn't plus infinitive. If I had my last meal, I would have an Italian dish with my family. If I could change one part of my body, I wouldn't change anything. Compare the following sentences. 1. She doesn't have much money, so she can't buy an apartment. 2. If she had the money, she would buy an apartment. Sentence 1. She doesn't have much money, so she can't buy an apartment. It is a real situation. She can't afford it. While sentence 2, if she had the money, she would buy an apartment. It is a hypothetical or imaginary situation. She doesn't have the money, but she would like to buy it if she had the money. Note, the second conditional can also be made in the following way. Would or wouldn't plus infinitive plus if plus past simple. He would pass the course if he studied more. They would travel abroad if they spoke English. Remember that when the second conditional starts with would or wouldn't plus infinitive plus if plus past simple, we don't use the comma. But when it starts with if plus past simple, would or wouldn't plus infinitive We use the comma between the clauses. I would go to the center if I had the time. No comma. If she didn't need the money, she wouldn't work on Sundays. Comma. Contextualization. Richard and his classmate Caroline are doing an oral presentation at school. The topic of their presentation is the world's food by 2050. Listen to them talking about the future of food.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Caroline Allen. Welcome to this presentation about the future of food for human beings. We're going to talk about the perspectives on food resources for the year 2050.
Hi, everyone. My name is Richard Brown. Thanks for being here. As Caroline just mentioned, we will talk about how our current habits and behavior are transforming our future. As you will see, our diet is probably going to be very different by 2050. We really hope you enjoy our presentation.
To start, these are the topics we will cover today. Number 1, the problem. Growing population versus declining rural labor force and food. Number 2, natural resources, demand versus production. Number 3, why should we care? Ecosystem integrity and food security. Number 4, let's get moving, practical decisions.
Let's begin with the problem. Our society is changing a lot. Experts predict the world's population will grow by 2.3 billion people between 2009 and 2050. The increase in the number of inhabitants will inevitably result in the need to produce more food. As you can see, there will be many more of us. However, not a lot of people will continue to live in the countryside and work in farming, which will result in a reduction of the rural labor force.
That's right, Richard. Together with the problem of overpopulation, urbanization will grow with urban areas holding 70% of the people by 2050. Today, the distribution of society between urban and rural areas is more even. Cities hold 49% of the world's population, leaving rural areas to take the rest of it.
These are the concerns. If there are less people living in the countryside, will the world have enough labor force to secure food for the year 2050? If we continue to grow, will we have enough natural resources such as arable land and water to satisfy the forthcoming demand for food?
Let's move on to the matter of natural resources. According to FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, globally, there will be enough land to secure food for the foreseeable future. However, as you can see in the figure, the prospective arable land is not evenly distributed. Developing countries hold the most of it, but much of this land is not good for agriculture since it has been protected against deforestation, for example. Think of the Amazon rainforest in South America. In addition to the issue of arable land, water resources face the same problem. There are areas in which the scarcity of water is notable. For instance, North Africa and South Asia, where there are no resources left. As you know, human well-being depends on natural resources. So, what about our ecological footprint on natural ecosystems? What is the relationship between demand and production? Let's talk about the marine ecosystem, for example. Overfishing, destructive and illegal fishing have prompted a reduction of fish in the world. See the bluefin tuna, a species that has dramatically declined in the last few decades and is now facing extinction. The demand of these fish for high-end sushi markets is driving its extinction. This is really a problem because these fish maintains a natural balance in the ocean's environment.
Yes, that's the unfortunate truth, Caroline. So what about our demand of livestock? Livestock are the animals that humans domesticate in order to produce commodities, food in most cases. The usual livestock consists of cattle, sheep, and poultry, among others. Cereals are very important for feeding livestock, and, again, we come back to the issue of having enough arable or farmable land to produce sufficient cereals to feed both livestock and human beings. Can we actually produce all this food? As you can see, livestock is crucial for securing food in the future, but it can also become an issue bearing in mind that many of the products we use to feed these animals could feed human beings directly.
So why should we care? Basically, because many of us take for granted all the commodities we now have. However, our current behavior is not helping the planet. The excessive, inefficient, selfish, and destructive ways of getting food, producing energy, and transporting are leaving a footprint in our planet, and this will affect its inhabitants, meaning us as human beings.
Absolutely, Caroline. These issues may not affect us directly, but think about the future generations, your children and grandchildren. They might not see a great white shark or a bluefin tuna in their lives. Furthermore, foods such as beef and fish, which we take for granted, can become a delicacy just for the rich. Your children and grandchildren may not be here now, but would you change your current behavior if they asked you to?
To be completely honest, the issue is much bigger than what we've just exposed here. We need to get moving. There are things we can do to help. Think of sustainability. I can tell you there is always a better choice. Consider your current decisions and think about the consequences of your behavior before acting.
We have taken a few examples of the things you can do to help stop environmental degradation. Number 1, consume more wisely. Cities are centers of consumption, but smart urban development at better consumption choices can help people live more sustainable lives. Tip, choose fish that have been fished sustainably. Number 2, preserve natural capital. Natural spaces in and around cities provide vital ecosystem services, including clean air and water, biodiversity habitat, and recreational values. Tip, promote and support ecotourism around your cities. Number 3, redirect financial flows. Encourage financial institutions to support sustainable commodity production. This will enable small farmers to be more competitive. Tip, consume small farmers' products, especially the ones produced near you.
That's it. This is our list of references. Thank you very much for your time. We hope you have enjoyed our presentation.
Are there any questions? We'll be happy to answer them now.